Welcome back to another episode of the Cape CopCast. I'm one of your hosts, Lisa Greenberg.
And I'm Officer Mercedes Simonds. Together we make up the Public Affairs Office. Today we have two really special guests.
Christine Seymour, I'm a Victim Assistance Coordinator.
Awesome.
Brandi Tucker, I'm a Victim Advocate.
Awesome. You guys, as we kind of talk a lot about, are like the heart of the department.
The empathetic people in the department, essentially. You're not sworn, but you're who everybody looks to. And when officers have to be on the scene and then leave and go deal with other calls, you're the one that comes to the scene, that takes the time and talks to people, victims, whether it's victims of like a death in the family or domestic violence. But you guys are so heavily involved in what we do that we thought it was really important to bring you guys on.
For sure. I know before I started working here, I had no idea that a victim advocate even existed. I had no idea that this was like a dedicated position within the police department. So if you could tell us a little bit about what a victim advocate is for someone who has never heard of it before.
So our role is to provide service to victims in the community. It doesn't mean that they have to be a victim of a crime. They can be victim of circumstances. For instance, providing food to somebody that maybe has financial needs. It can just be a victim of your circumstances.
I remember you telling me about a particular situation where a person was at Walgreens and was lost and didn't want to drive home because it was dark and couldn't figure out how to get home. And that's another type of situation where you guys would step in and assist in that way that people probably wouldn't think about.
Yes. So in that particular incident, I was trying to find some sort of family member. Were they really lost? Or did they just need transportation? So I knew what further services. That ended up just needing transportation back home because it was dark. She was afraid of driving at night and she had been turned around. Somebody was in the area, so all
that
worked out. But if it didn't, we would then, utilize some of the resources in the community.
And I know too, there's a wide range, as Mercedes mentioned, of things that you guys respond to. I've seen you work on multiple cases, showing up to a scene, consoling family members, or dealing with witnesses, who may have saw something traumatic. What types of situations do you typically respond to?
So we respond to natural deaths, obviously unnatural deaths, homicides.
We also handle traffic homicide,
sexual battery, child or adult, fire cases. We assist with that.
domestic violence.
The big one, that's the biggest percentage of cases that we handle in-house and out.
Child abuse cases, adult abuse cases.
Yeah, elder abuse, child abuse.
Any kind of battery case, really any case you can think of that has a victim.
Correct.
That's crime related, and then the natural ones as well.
Yes, whether it be in office resources or on scene.
Yeah, and you guys are just like a plethora of resources too. You know everybody in the community, you probably know their hours, and you can get them directly hooked up with a lot of different resources that are so helpful to everybody. What are your kind of like most rewarding calls that you go to when you help people?
Kids.
Definitely kids.
Yeah.
Kids are a
Definitely
passion.
kids.
They are the innocent of our community, just making sure that they are provided with the utmost support for them and their family.
How are those boundaries there for you that you can still truly care and be empathetic, but also making sure that you're okay at home?
So we do a lot of debriefing. We all share our cases, not only for the purpose of, not shouldering all of that, but the second part, which is very important, if I'm not available and it was my case, one of the other advocates can pick up where I've left off and continue the support to a victim. We have our own camaraderie that helps that. We have to make that resource to ourselves to not shoulder all of that, because we see a lot, we hear a lot. We're not considered a first responder, but we are right behind the first responder on scene. We're not working in the office for those traumatic cases. We're right there, hand in hand with the officer, doing what we need to do for the community.
You get like trauma dumped on you constantly.
We do.
So I can only imagine how much that probably weighs. Coming from the officer perspective, like we're there, of course we care, we're empathetic, but sometimes it's more about, especially if there's a crime involved, gathering the facts. And then we lean so heavily on you to come in and kind of clean up emotionally, sometimes both on our side. You're sometimes a resource to us and then also a resource to the victim.
We jokingly refer to ourselves as the tree huggers because we are the emotional side of the department.
Yeah.
We want to be the emotional side of the department. We chose to be in this profession because of that, because we do have empathy. We do have sympathy for those who we serve. So when we're on scene, our purpose is to, we're not investigators. We're, as you stated, we're not sworn officers, but we're very important because we are working hand in hand with that officer, and we're allowing that officer to do what the officer needs to do and not worry about, okay, is this victim going to give me what information I need to solve the incident that I'm working? Or a lot of times we have a lot of family that arrive on scene, and then you can imagine everybody starts walking towards the scene, and we have to protect, the scene. And so now we've taken away from what they need to be doing. So we do some of that crowd control, if you want to refer to it as that. We bridge the information from the officer, detective, to the family so that they know what's going on, so that they're not sitting over there going, what's going on? I want to know what, and then everything kind of escalates from that point. So that's what our role is to be an extra hand to the officer and detective.
That makes total sense. And you kind of brought up that this is what you want to do, is be that emotional person, be that empathetic person for the people who are on scene so that the officers can do their job of investigating. I'm curious how each of you kind of got into this line of work. And Brandi, I'll start with you. How did you end up here at the police department? How did you end up as a victim advocate?
I'm really not sure. No, I came on as a dispatcher, and I was in dispatch for about 5.5 years. But my goal from the very beginning, because someone in this department who knows me well had mentioned that I'd be a great advocate. I was like, well, how do I do that? She's like, oh, and joking, she's like, you're going to wait for Pat Lucas to retire. Okay, well, how do I do that? She's like, just get your foot in the door. So I came on as a dispatcher, and I really thought that I'd stay in dispatch forever. And lo and behold, I'm seeing the emails as they come in one day, and I was like, oh, the advocate position's open. I really think I want to do that. So I went online and I read a whole lot about it. I'm very emotional. I'm very empathetic, but I thought that I had something to give back. So I went ahead and applied. And well, I've been here a little over 6 years now in this position. It's what my passion is, being able to care for other people and help them get through the hardest time in their lives, to show somebody that, yes, this happened, but we're going to be able to get through it. And I'm going to be here. We're going to move past this, and you're going to be different, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah. My favorite thing about you is that, you're not just empathetic. You don't just care about who you're dealing with, but you also have the personality that you can step up and stand up for somebody who needs it. You're not afraid. Yeah. You're not quiet. You're always very vocal about what needs to be done. And you're not afraid to step up, take charge while maintaining empathy, which I think is so important for a lot of victims, especially domestic violence, that are kind of afraid to come forward and talk about what's going on. And
you seem perfect for the job. And Christine, I'll direct the same question to you. What led you into this line of work?
It's kind of evolved. I started my career as a juvenile probation officer, and then came to the department as a juvenile liaison, and then victim advocacy. My passion has always been to help. That is my nature. Sometimes it's a
blessing and a curse.
Yes, exactly. A blessing and a curse, because I feel like I go above and beyond to provide resources and service to anybody, whether it be work, home. So
I can imagine it's easy for it to bleed into other aspects of your life, right? You hear of someone struggling, so you're like, I'll step up and do this. And I imagine, though, it could be easy to get spread pretty thin.
It can.
How is it, though, when you offer resources and then people just don't want the help?
Sometimes it's more about where they're at in their journey, traumatized by the event, traumatized maybe by all the different people. We respect the uniform, And sometimes that is overwhelming to a victim. So they kind of shut down. That might be one, or just the other, they're not ready. They're just not ready. Sometimes people have to have a little bit more before they're ready to say, okay, enough is enough. And it's okay. We're going to pick them up wherever they're at. We're never going to, we have victims that are reoccurring, and we're never going to make them feel bad. Sometimes victims will say to us, I know you talked to me about this and I didn't do it. And I'm like, it's okay. It's really okay. Are you ready today? I'll help you with today. That's what we're gonna work on today. We're not gonna worry about what happened in the past. We're gonna worry about today. And if you're not, I'm still here when you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Everybody has a different point in their process when they decide that they're ready. Today's the time. Might happen one time for one person, or might be 5. You never know what somebody's situation is. And I don't judge anyone for their situation. We're going to help you today, where you're at right now. And hopefully I'll get to help you again down the road if you need help.
And I think that's important to stress too, is you guys, of course, show up to a crime scene when the initial crime happens. You're there for the victim. You talk to them. You explain any resources that are available and how you can help. But that help doesn't just end there. It's not like you guys all leave the crime scene, they lose your number, and y'all never speak again. You walk through everything with them. And I thought it might be interesting to use, since you did say a big percentage of your cases are domestic violence, using that as an example of kind of how you walk a victim through the process. What does that look like?
Depending on if an arrest is made or not made, the resources that would be available, we would explain the justice system, not only what the process is, contact information, first appearance. What is first appearance? What can I do at first appearance? Safety plan. Safety planning is the utmost importance for domestic violence victims. They're the most vulnerable in a time like this. So we need to make sure that they're safe. Initially, they're safe if the suspect has been arrested, but that's not a guarantee they're staying away. So what do? We talk about getting an injunction for protection. We talk about shelter, safe shelter, whether that be shelter in place with resources coming in with them, whether it be at somebody else's home, friend, family, or going to one of the local shelters. Then we talk about rebuilding. We're not going to stay in this moment. We're going to rebuild. So with that, there's counseling services that are available to all that are involved. Because we got to remember, when we have domestic violence, it doesn't just affect the two parties that are having the actual incident. It pertains to anybody else that's living in the home. So we want to make sure that they are innocent bystanders to this, that they are provided resources as well.
Absolutely. It's a lot. And then, that case goes to court. You guys come to those with the victim, don't you?
Absolutely. When we initiate with a victim, we tell the victim we're there for as long as they want us there. Obviously, we want them to be comfortable. So if they want us to go to any court proceedings, we will go with them. There are advocates that work with the state attorney's office when it's going through the court proceeding. But once it's done, they're done. So at that point, if we're not working with a victim through that court proceeding, that's fine, or we can. Afterwards, if they say, okay, now what do I do? Now, I really focused all my time on getting this conviction. Now, what do I do with my time? Because that's a big one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then that's when we say to them, okay, now this is important for you to focus on you.
I know that there are a lot of people that think that they're going through it alone. They don't call. They think it's normal. What would you say to those people to help them?
You're not alone. That's number one. You're never alone, because we're here to help you. So there's your first support. There are hundreds and hundreds of people that are in your same shoes or have been in your shoes. And those are the people that we want to connect you with. so that you can understand that, you can survive this. You will survive this. And I have a saying that I have always said, even from my days of being a probation officer: you can be a survivor or you can be a victim. Because you're a victim, but if you stay in victim mode, you're never going to be the survivor. And I need you to be the survivor. And that's the journey you have to take. So you have to do the resources to get you to that point.
That makes sense. That's a good piece of advice. And that's a good way to frame it, because you ultimately want this person to overcome what they're going through.
Absolutely. I don't want you to stay in that moment. When we work with a death case, I say to families, don't think about today as everything. Think about all the years you had. Yes, today hurts, but don't stay in today. Don't. You're going to be a survivor. We're going to help you through that. And those are the things that we do. We will walk hand in hand with a victim, whether just, being on the phone and listening to them. Yeah. Or just, there's a lot of times victims will call back and I say to them when I provide them with information, right now, it's very overwhelming. I might sound like Charlie Brown. It's okay to call me back. I don't care if I just left. Hey, Christine, I don't know what you said. I don't even know the first move. Mm-hmm. What do I do? And I said, I will go through it with you. Just call me. I'm not going to call you because I don't know if you want me to, be a part of that. Right now I am, but if you want me, I will be there. Whatever the duration, we're there.
I'm sure that you guys have built relationships with people too that are like years and years and years and years to where you're still in touch and communicating years and years and years later.
Prime example.
Oh, what's that?
14 years later, this is the victim.
Wow.
That I worked with.
Wow.
Yes.
That's incredible. And you guys are still in touch.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's like proof that one, you're perfect for this job, and two, you're so needed. What you guys do is so important. 14 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah. So this bracelet signifies a young lady. Her name is Peyton, who passed away. And I had and I say privilege, to do the notification to the family. And it's a privilege only because they have become family. They truly are part of my family through the working relations with them. So yes, 14 years later, it has not come off my arm. And this is in honor of her.
The fact that you still 14 years later get this emotional about a case proves that you guys are perfect for what you're doing.
But that's one of those things, like why your guys' job is so special is because it shows that it's like you're not just a person floating on in the world. Whatever you do has a lasting impact on the people around you. And you're here to still tell a story 14 years later plus, and lives are still matter to you. And
everybody's life matters to me.
Yeah, and you guys have like a candlelight vigil too every year, right?
Yes, we do. And the purpose of the candlelight vigil is to honor those that we've worked with through the years. We want to not stop our support.
Right.
Initially, we give a little sprinkle, but then we want to continue. And we have families that come out year after year after year. And that's what it was designed for, to come out and display your loved one's picture and, have camaraderie with others that have had a loss, because it's hard.
And to acknowledge, that you haven't forgotten about what they've gone through.
Absolutely
it could be
not.
years later, but we still remember. We still want to be here for you to provide that outlet.
Absolutely. But that's what I love about candlelight, is because even if you haven't spoken to that person as often as you'd like to throughout the year, or maybe you haven't been able to speak at all because you don't always want to follow up with somebody. You don't want to make that trigger or whatever happened raw in their life again. But when you see that person at candlelight, or when you get to organically see them somewhere and you just get to catch up on the story and what's happened and how they're doing, everything just feels better.
Yeah.
That's like the true proof of like why the candlelight is so important.
Right.
When's the next one?
It's going to be in April.
Well, you guys are incredible. Seriously. Is there anything else you can think of that we haven't touched on that you'd want to mention?
We're available for any type of questions. It might not have to be relating to being a victim. I get a lot of strange phone calls, but I will connect them.
We
You know?
will find the resource.
Yes.
So what's the best way for people to be able to get in contact with you guys and ask their questions?
They can certainly reach out to myself. My number is 239-574-0656.
Perfect.
Also, if they're a victim of crime, they're given the blue form, which has all of our numbers on the blue form, so they can reach out to the victim advocate unit. They just don't know which one they're calling. Just call us.
There's 5 of you working together, helping the people of Cape Coral. We appreciate all of your hard work, and we appreciate you coming on the podcast. I know this is a bit outside of your comfort zone, but you would never know. The people watching or listening would never know because you guys did so great. Seriously, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. And I hope that the information that we've provided today reaches those who need it.
Absolutely. And we will see you next time here on the Cape CopCast. Thank you so much.
Yep, take care. Thank you for listening to the Cape CopCast, where we dive into the heart of the Cape Coral Police Department's safety initiatives, community relations, and the insightful stories of different officers that make up our department.
Please like and share our podcast. If you have feedback, you can email capepdpao@capecoral.gov. And remember to follow us on social media. Our handle is @CapePD on all major platforms. Stay safe, stay Cape.